So today we're going to rebuild the trim tilt cylinders on an OMC Cobra. Now when you look at this, I know you see it silver, you're thinking maybe it's a Volvo Penta, but this is actually just your standard 1990s, early 1990s series OMC Cobra. So I just took off all the Cobra insignia that you're used to seeing over here, so don't be discouraged, this is still OMC. It comes apart same exact way because it is. So let's get started with first bracing the actual stern drive itself so you can start removing these cylinders. Just use a standard ratchet to hold up the out drive just like this. So once you have the out drive braced, start by removing these caps here. There's one on each end. This is the one on the right. Save that, and then we'll talk about removing that here. Then go ahead and remove this side. Alright, so get a 5/8 socket for one side, and then your backup wrench for the other. And go ahead and start loosening this here. Alright, so if you guys are doing this in your backyard, make sure you don't lose the washer here. Alright, so once you have this nut off, don't worry about trying to take that one off, because what you can do is just kind of press this through and it'll come out, the whole rod will come out this side. But this is good time to kind of get a good ratchet on that. It'll help with getting this rod out. If it doesn't look like it's coming out very easily, that means your trim is not resting properly on your ratchet. So if you find that it won't come out that easily, then just readjust your ratchet. But another thing to pay attention to here, like I said, if you're doing this in your backyard, you'll lose these if you're not careful. So rubber grommets, just make sure you hold on to them. You'll see there's another one on this side as well. Alright, so I'm going to pull that shaft all the way out. Now on this piece, you'll see we have the rubber grommet, all right, and then we have this little plastic-like piece, which was right here. You should have one on each side. The reason you didn't see one on the other side is this one is kind of pretty hard, pretty solidly connected on that side. So just make sure you don't lose it. These are all for your tolerances when you're putting these putting this trim cylinders back together. So save it. You should have 2 of these and then 2 of these. You're only going to see one on my case, because I'm going to leave this one here for right now. The other thing too is you notice that the cylinders, when I did that, they didn't go flopping down. Same thing with that side, they're kind of resting against this ratchet. If you let these things go flopping down, you're going to put a lot of strain on these hoses. You're going to cause some adverse damage to it, so make sure these don't just go flying down. The back of the cylinder, right here, you're going to see a 3/8 bolt. Go ahead and, I've already kind of loosened it. You need to get that off. Make sure you save all the pieces right. So you got a 3/8 bolt, this little metal piece here, and then once you take the 3/8 bolt off, you're going to notice the cover here comes off. All right, so just kind of work your cover off just like that. That's going to expose your flares. Let me set this down. So, all right, so once you get the 3/8 bolt off, you'll have a flare there that we need to remove, and then this other flare up here. All right. This little bolt here is going to come off. We'll work on that in just a minute, but that's going to be your next steps. Also inspect your hoses while you're this far along. If you notice any kind of fraying or anything along your hoses, any oil, now is a good time to replace those. So I've already kind of loosened the bottom one, but this is the same thing as the top, right? And when I say the top, I mean this one up here. You just take your cap off, and you have your 5/8 bolt. All right, 5/8 bolt, and then your washer, and you'll have that little plastic piece. In my case, mine is pretty snug on that, but just remember, there's a plastic piece in there. Before you take this off, right, do not take that off yet, because you got to get these flares off. I just loosened it since it's already here, but remember, before this piece comes out, get these flares off. So, all right, so before you take your 7/16 box ring to this flare, just know there's going to be a lot of fluid that comes out. So make sure you have a pan down below to catch all of it, because it's going to get messy. It's going to run downhill, right? So just make sure as you're positioning it, it'll be able to catch it. So that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these two flares here and over here. Like I said, these are 7/16. If you had this in salt water, expect these to be heavily corroded, and use the correct style box wrench. Otherwise, you're going to strip these out. Okay, so I'm going to get them removed and start draining out the fluid in this. All right, so I bet you're wondering which line do you remove first. It should be pretty obvious, but I'm just going to show you anyway. So take your 7/16. You're going to loosen up here, then follow this down here. You're going to see this bolt up here, and this is a 5/16. So once you remove this line, you can kind of slide this out of the way, and it'll allow you to get to the 7/16 down here. So remember, just remove the top line first. All right, and then pull your 7/16 line down here off. Okay, so just remember, loosen this guy off. If you're working in an area where you can lose stuff, just be careful. Here's your clip, and you'll see how this line, once you remove it, I've already loosened up the bolt up here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show you as we're loosening this. Alright, so you can see the flare is loose. Alright, so that's it right there. Move this one over to the side. And now you will have access to the 7/16 over here. Alright, so I'm kind of loosen this 7/16 bolt over here. Alright, there you go. So, got both of them out. So at this point, I mean, the cylinder has no top cover on it, the 7/16. Your zinc ground is hanging right there. So technically at this point, you can just very carefully slide the cylinder out just like that. And then that's one side. And we'll just go ahead and repeat the video for the other end. Okay, so we have both cylinders removed. We'll go ahead now and bring these to the shop, and I'll show you how to rebuild them. Okay, so you want to get your cylinders on a clean work area. You're going to see, to get these things apart, you'll see these 4 pins. You need a pin wrench. The one that I'm using is an adjustable pin wrench. I got this from Harbor Freight. They have these on Amazon, adjustable type. multiple different ones. So the main thing here is just get one of these adjustable pin wrenches, and this will be what you're going to use to get those off. You'll see here we got the two little pins. Basically how it works is one goes in one side, the other goes on the other. This is an adjustable one, right? So you got to open it up a little bit, and it goes like that, right? So main thing is, right, counterclockwise. Some people will report on getting these off. You have to heat this piece off. This is probably going to be the hardest part. If you have a saltwater stern drive, plan on having a lot of trouble getting this off. Don't expect it being very easy. So if you need to heat this up in this area, go ahead and do so. Just keep in mind these seals here are going to get replaced anyway, so don't worry too much about that. Just if you need to apply some heat or some penetrating oil to get that off, now's the time to go ahead and do so. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get mine off, and then we'll get started with the next piece. So they make a lot of different types of penetrating oil. I'm just using the blaster type. Used it on other items before, and it seems to work pretty good. The trick is, if you never used penetrating oil before, is you have to apply it and then walk away. So if you're thinking, I'm going to apply some penetrating oil, I'm going to put it in here and let's go, and try to remove it, that's not how it works. It needs some time. I'd say at least 20 minutes. If you can spare 45, that would be awesome. But yeah, it needs some time to kind of work into these areas here. If you're going to use a propane torch to get this off, make sure you don't use this and then, oh, I'm going to use a propane torch, because you're going to start a fire. Just keep in mind, when you're turning, you got metal here, right? If you damage this rod because you're getting too happy with this thing, if you damage this rod, this won't work. Your trim cylinder still won't work. It can't. If it hits a pocket of air as it's going up and down right here, things are going to fail. So if you feel like you're going to have a problem using this tool and damaging the cylinder, take something, electrical tape probably is not going to be good, but take some maybe some painter's tape and put it over there so you don't mar up that rod. And you can see here, I am just about done getting mine off. Alright, that's it. Pretty easy, right? It looks like that on video, but trust me, when you're doing this on your own, you're going to have a few cuss words to say. Alright, so there's your cap. Ta-da! Forgot to tell you, it's going to be a hell of a mess. So, go back to your boat and get the pan and take and dump all this stuff in there. Okay, so just loosened up the second one all the way. If you haven't figured this out already, guys, make sure you're wearing gloves. Alright. And that's it for this one. Alright, so we have the caps removed. You're going to see the seals in your kit. You're going to get new seals for that, and then you're going to have new seals for this piece and that one too. So what we're going to do now, guys, is I'm going to show you how to take this cylinder completely apart. So the next procedure to get this broken down further is you just go ahead and very carefully, alright, I'll take that one off on one end. Get rid of that tool out of here. Same thing here. Alright. You'll need to get a really good cleaning rag to get everything cleaned up real well. I already did a lot of this work off camera to kind of clean everything up, and I just want to kind of go over some of the seals that you're going to be looking for here. Alright, so obviously this is going to be one of the seals to remove. Alright, so that's one. Here's two. And now in here, let's see if I can get this to focus, there's going to be three. Alright, so there's one at the bottom, a black one in the middle, and a third one right there. We'll talk about this a little bit more in detail just to make sure everyone understands this, but if you see that 45-degree cut, and then you see that 45-degree cut, and they're right above each other, if this happens in your situation when you're reinstalling everything, your cylinder will not work properly, or if it does work, it won't work for long. So like I said again, those 45-degree angle cuts cannot be overlapping, and we'll talk more about those 45-degree cuts when we go to reinstall everything. But I just wanted to make this video real quick here so you can see how it's not supposed to look. Yeah, make sure everything's nice and clean. You'll see what I have now is I have the trim tilt cylinder seal kit, both of them set up here, and as you'll see here, the part number 985060, you'll need two of them, one for each side. They should come with a little diagram like this. This is kind of handy, so as you're doing it, you can actually take, like for example, these three seals, that's these three right here, you can actually take these off, put them right there, so it helps you keep track of all your seals for your trim tilt cylinder. You want to get this cap off so you can replace the outer and inner seals here. So in order to do that, you get a 3/4 inch wrench, stick it on this side, make sure you have something for leverage to keep that thing, the cap from turning. And I've already loosened it obviously, but what you'll do is you'll just turn this, and you'll notice this bolt actually doesn't come off. There's a good amount of thread locker in here. Some people have claimed that that part is pretty hard to get off. You can apply heat to it if you need. For me, it was pretty easy. Alright, there you go. And then this will slide off like that, and you'll see you have the outer seal. Then you can also see the inner seal as well, and those will need to be replaced. So there's a total of 2 here, right? And then you have your 3 back here, so total of 5. What you'll need to do, and I say 5, you got 3 here, 4, 5, and this seal's still on here, so I'll just point to that. There's 6. Your kit will come with a little sheet here. We'll go ahead and open it up. Maybe yours won't, but mine did. Right, if you notice here, I said 6, right? So this one, these 3, and then these 2, 4, 5, and 6. These 3 down here are not part of the rebuild kit on these cylinders, so you won't need these 3 for this particular rebuild. You may find on yours that you do need them, but for mine specifically I did not. But just realize that you will be using the top seals there. I put the pick on the inside of the seal and just pull it out like that. It took a few attempts to get it up, probably like 3 or 4 times, but eventually it did come out. And then once you get that out, there's the inner seal. It's pretty much the same thing, just roll it around, go in there and pick out the seal, and there you go. You'll have both of those seals, and then you go ahead and clean all the old hydraulic fluid off of it. So I have everything broken down so you can kind of see at this point where you should be, how many seals, all that good stuff. So for your service cap, you have the inner outer seals for both of those. Alright, so for the rod itself, you should have, well, this is actually for the cap, so technically these actually belong here. So for your cap, service cap you should have 3. One for the seal around there, outer, and then inner seal, so a total of 3 seals there. Alright, and so for the rod you have these 2 thin, and then you have the one that goes in the middle. The next seal that you need to look at removing is going to be inside where the 7/16 flare is. On each cylinder there's 2, one here and then one there. These seals do not come in your kit here, but this is what you need. So just look for your 5/16. That's how wide it is, and then it's the actual thickness of it is 1/16, and they go right in there. So this one, I've actually already removed it. This one has not been removed yet, so we'll just stick the pick in there. And pop it out. The other items here, you know, the 7/16 flare, that area needs to be cleaned. You're going to see a lot of grime in there. Same thing in here. I mean, this one had a good amount of dirt. Clean out both. You can technically do this whole entire job in less than 2 hours for both cylinders if you like, but what you're going to find that takes the most amount of your time is getting in here and cleaning these cylinders out, making them look real nice. Nice and clean, especially with this hydraulic fluid. Dirt loves to stick to it, so spent a lot of time. I went through here with some brake cleaner and took all the old fluid off of it, went in here, cleaned those out. You'll see these caps, these service caps, clean these up real nice. No excess oil. We're going to add oil to it later, but you know, you want to get all the old stuff off as much as possible before you put on the new seals and add in the new assembly oil and whatnot. So, you know, take your time during this process. Take your time. Remove all the excess oil. Do a good inspection. Make sure you don't have any damaged rods here. And once you get everything cleaned up, go ahead and start your reassembly. So when you're putting everything back together, it's good to kind of lay it all out so you know what seals you need and which ones you don't. So from the actual cylinder here, you need 3. So this one goes on the outside, that's another outside, and that one goes in the center. This goes on your service cap. That's your outer seal, inner seal, and then that one goes around this sealing surface around here. So that's going to be all the seals that you're going to need, at least for my application. You have these extra 3. Not really sure what they go to, but they don't apply to mine. If you want to know which ones they are, they're all 3 the same exact size, and I won't be using those 3. So anyway, there you go. So there's 3, these 2, and then that one. We'll go ahead and start by reassembling the surface cap first using these 3. All right, so you'll see here we got the seal and inner seal. I guess you would say the surface cap seal, and then the internal seal installed. And the outer seal can be put in 2 different ways, right? So you have the NOK writing on one side and then nothing on the other. Just make sure the NOK writing faces down where you can't see it. Now, when I took these old seals out, they had no Loctite around them. They didn't have any kind of sealant on them at all. So I typically reinstall the same way that I uninstalled it. So if there wasn't anything in there to start with, I'm not going to put anything in there now. So we're going to install it dry. And then what you want to do here is just get a socket, all right? And then just go ahead and mash it down. The outer seal is now installed. So if you kind of look, I got the outer one flush. There's your service cap seal, and then inside is the new inner seal. If you notice, this thing is still dry. I haven't coated anything with the trim fluid yet, and I probably won't until just before I reassemble everything. This way, you know, if one of my tools does get something dirty, I'm not having to remove everything and you know, try to remove all that dirt and dust. So what I'm doing now is, like I said, everything's dry still. We're just installing it and reassembling it. So this is a fully finished outer cap, well, service cap with the outer seal, inner seal, and then service cap seal. So that one's done. I'm going to move on now to installing one of the pistons on this here too. So first thing you're going to want to do. All right, so I'm gonna kind of show you here first, and this, if you're skimming through this video, make sure you pay attention to this part here. So you'll see how there's these cuts here. They're 45 degree. It's very important when you're reassembling these on the piston here that these do not line up. Now I'm going to go ahead and install it first the wrong way. I showed you earlier in the video how not to do it. So I'm going to install it again just so we get our point across here. Do not install it like this. If you install these seals like I have shown, you will you're going to have some major leaks, or your trim is going to sag. So don't do it like this. Basically, you have the O-ring in the middle, and you have that lower seal and upper seal. Those 45 degree cuts need to be offset. My recommendation would be the one that's at the bottom, keep it as it is. The one at the top that's cut at 45, rotate it 180 degrees facing towards the bottom, and this way they have plenty of separation. So I'll go ahead and fix it, show you the way that it's supposed to be. So I flipped it around 180 degrees. You can see this is how it's supposed to look. So you have the 45 degree cut. I'm going to spin it 180 degrees, and then there's the other one. If you notice, I'm holding these with my fingers since this hasn't actually been in a sealed environment yet. They haven't contoured to be a perfect circle yet. You're going to use a aluminum Coke can as a guide to put these in, but for right now, that's how it's going to look. This is the correct way. So there's one, that's your top 45 degree cut, spin around 180 degrees. There's the bottom, separated by an O-ring. So that is how you do that one. I'm going to set it over here. You'll notice the ring kind of unbinds a little bit, but that's normal. And I'm also going to set the service cap here so we know that's done as well. Now, once you got the service cap completely sealed up, you may be tempted to put the seals on here on your piston. Don't do that. What we're going to do instead is make sure you have some thread locker. Now, what was originally in these before I took it out is typically what I put back in. So it looked like it was just thread sealant before. There wasn't any red in it, and in my case I didn't have to use heat to get it off, which tells me it wasn't the red thread locker in it. If anything, it was probably just regular thread sealant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the blue thread locker seal, and that's how I'm going to attach it. Now, to get the service cap back on with all the seals, you're going to notice it goes on super tight. I used some trim tilt fluid, lubed up the shaft, and then put some actually inside the inner and outer seal, and it went on, and it's definitely a good fit compared to what it was before. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and clean your threads off real good, because I'm sure you got some trim tilt fluid all over it, and apply some of your thread locker, and take one of your caps and start threading it on. See here, I got my thread sealant on it, so I'll go ahead and take one of the caps and start threading it on. So I just took the 3/4 inch wrench on this side, and I have a really long extension, and what I did was I just threaded it back on, you're going to see some of your thread sealant coming out there. So just get your rag and wipe that excess off. And now at this point, you can go ahead and install these 3 seals here. And you'll be that much closer to getting this installed back into the cylinder tube. For the next part here, you need to get these 3 seals installed inside the cylinder. Now, if you just try to take this and slide it into the cylinder, you're going to get bound up on these threads and you're going to destroy something. So you can kind of see in the background, get you a can, aluminum can, cut it, be careful, you definitely slice your finger open, and what you're going to do is wrap this around, holding those seals in place, right? And then you can easily slide it into place like that, and then take out your aluminum can, and you will have those 3 seals in there. So just double check, make sure before you wrap this can around that those seals are installed properly and they don't look like this. Alright, so also before you slide this into place, make sure you coat this with your trim tilt fluid, because you definitely do not want to install this dry. You will have some major problems. You can see mine is dry, and I'm just showing you this for video purposes. Take the power trim tilt fluid, coat these seals properly with that, and then I'll also take that power trim fluid and coat the inside as well. So that's pretty much how you do it. Like I said, just wrap your aluminum foil and slide it down the tube. Don't try to do it without the aluminum. Do not. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do that and show you what it looks like next. Here's a good detail view. Now I took my time wrapping this aluminum can around those seals to make sure they weren't overlapping or we weren't going to have any problems. I also used the trim tilt fluid and installed it there. The seals are wet as well, so make sure when you're wrapping this can around those seals, take your time when you're doing it, and this way when you go to slide it into this tube, you don't have any problems. But yeah, definitely this is a super major important part of this process. So I'm going to go ahead and slide it in place now. Alright, so all the seals are reinstalled in the cylinder. Pistons back into the cylinder. I'm going to tell you guys, I think this part of, getting these 3 seals back into the cylinder is probably the hardest part of this whole entire project. I know some people saying, getting this off was tough, but not so much. I think getting those 3 seals to go inside of this cylinder was probably the most difficult. But, just take your time. So there you go. There are 2 completely rebuilt trim tilt cylinders here. So pretty easy. I hope everyone thought it was easy. I definitely thought it was quicker to assemble the piston inside that female sleeve the second time around. So it just means a bunch of practice. So what I'm going to do now that we got these completely rebuilt, I'm going to show you, going back to what I was saying earlier, where the 5/16, where these 5/16 seals go. You can put them in now, but I'm going to show you an easier way to install them. This way you know for sure you don't lose them or they don't fall out. Because I guess technically they could get stuck in there, but yeah, why chance it, right? You already spent this much time rebuilding these things. But yeah, I'm going to take you back over to the boat and show you how to install this. Okay, so we're back at the boat. You got 4 of these flares. So what I'm going to have you do is take one of your new seals and just slide it right there. Alright, and that's actually one of the old ones, but I'll pull one of the new ones out before I'm actually going to install it. But that's it. So this is kind of like the foolproof way of making sure you don't forget to put the seals. Do them now, so as you're threading your 7/16 back into your cylinder. Alright, so now that you have your trim tilt cylinders rebuilt, now's a good time. Take some marine grade grease and grease your bottom rod here that goes to the bottom of the So a quick tip, as you're reinstalling this bottom support rod, make sure this flare is above it, otherwise you're going to have to take it all the way out. Also check out the other side as well when you're sliding this through. You want to make sure the other side is this long flare clears that rod as well, because otherwise you're going to have to take it all apart. Alright. Alright, so quick tip. Before you attach any of the flares, you get the bottom support in place, and also put in the top support. Now, considering you already pre-adjusted it, you shouldn't have a problem, but it makes it a lot easier so you're not having to lift your ratchet up and down. You can kind of do it all right now, but just be kind of careful, because if you were off a little bit, try to adjust your ratchet if you can. Don't move the cylinders, because you're going to make a mess all over your transom if you try to move these right now. But if you do want to make it a little bit easier, now's your time to do it. Everything's pre-adjusted. You can go ahead and put your flares on. Make sure you have your new 5/16 O-rings on it, and that's pretty much it. The other thing to mention here is, before you get these flares too tight, make sure you get these bolts tightened up, because what ends up happening is the position of that long flare actually changes as you're moving these bolts in and out. So tighten everything up and down first before you completely tighten this one. Otherwise you're going to notice that line up front will flex a little bit, and you don't want it to break. So that's pretty much my last suggestion on this video. Other than that, everything else went pretty well. Everything is completely torqued down. All the caps were reinstalled. Another little mention, make sure your bracket for your grounding, for your zincs, are connected properly as well. And that's it. At this point, plan on bleeding your system. But other than that, I hope this video helped. That is the complete walkthrough of your trim tilt cylinder rebuilds. Alright guys, have a good one.